Oh, yeah, in '04. That was in '04. Well, Charlie didn't hit us, but we got some rain. Yeah. Oh, yeah, if we get a hurricane right now, it's gonna be a problem. Big problem.
Hey, Ricardo. How you doing?
Good.
Doctorate was academic.
Political science.
Fitting.
Yeah. The primary part was in public administration. Yeah, but that was my focus.
Are you going to do?
So Ricardo's going to read this one.
Yeah, I think.
Wow, during
Yep. And then this one's
part-time.
We're going to move
Took
this
me about 10 years.
to next meeting.
Had it done. That's
Yeah, I did it.
They're not here. He's out of town.
Do we have to take action?
No. I'll ask Matt. I'll double check.
I did
I'll ask
my,
Council to continue, move it to the next meeting. And then Chief will do.
I'll let Corey know that you're coming. He's our technology wizard. And Wi-Fi is there. A hotspot with a phone. Corey can help with.
I don't know if he's ready.
Thank you.
Well, I guess we have a minute, so I don't want
I
to.
saw Lance's truck.
Oh, he's not. I didn't realize.
I said start early. We're usually late.
This is a hard time.
Well, I don't want to start.
Good for
I don't want to start any second before 6 o'clock, so somebody can
Oh,
say
yeah, oh, yeah.
This is I can get there before we're like down too, aren't we?
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
On vacation for on the 15th.
Maybe one of these must want to say they.
Just got back from
When's the last time?
just a few months ago. Did your sister? She lives right
I'll
down
just
there.
tell them we'll move it to 23rd because they were not able to make it tonight first time. Okay. All right.
I know. Crazy.
Move it into a it's a ball.
The room is spread out. Ricardo's going to read it.
Okay, I'd like to call to order the City Council meeting of Zephyrhills, Florida, Monday, September 9th, 2024, to 6 p.m. At this time, can I have the city clerk do the roll call, please?
Yes, sir. Kenneth Burgess,
Here.
Charles Proctor,
Here.
Lance Smith, Jody Wilkerson,
Here.
Stephen Spina,
Here.
Mayor Munson, William Poe,
Here.
Matthew Maggard.
Here.
Okay, at this time, we're going to have the invocation, and the invocation is going to be by our senior code specialist, Jackie Bogues. So if we can rise for that and follow that with a pledge of allegiance.
Heavenly Father, as we gather here today, we ask for your spirit of unity to be present among us. Help us to put any personal agendas or differences as we engage in discussions and make decisions that impact the city of Zephyrhills today. And we work together towards our human harmony and common goals. Father, we acknowledge that all productivity and success comes from you. You are the provider for all our abilities and opportunities. We cannot do anything without your help, oh God. We come to you in eager anticipation of all that you're going to do tonight. We know that you are a God of great power, might, and capable of accomplishing more than we can ever think or imagine. We pray that you would open the eyes that we see your hand at work in an aspect of this meeting. May your spirit guide us, Lord, in making wise decisions and lead us toward outcomes in this Bible as we read. As we read the Bible verse in Proverbs 3, it says, We trust in you, Lord, with all our might and with all our understanding. We ask, Lord God, that you help us tonight to be attentive to one another with open hearts and minds. May we be not quick to judge or criticize or intent to seek understanding or difference in perspectives. We pray that you will give us the discernment to make the best decisions for this greater goal. Thank you, Lord, for faithfulness and provisions in our lives. Thank you for each person in this meeting and the unique talents and perspectives that they bring. We thank you, Father, for every opportunity that we together will make and decisions that will be made for this community. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Amen.
I'd like to welcome everybody to tonight's meeting. Have a couple of special presentations in just a few moments. At this time, I'd like to remind everyone to silence their electronic devices. And thank you, Jackie, very much for that invocation. All right, this time on the agenda, we have citizens' comments for items that are not already on the agenda. So I will see if the city clerk has anybody signed up to speak tonight.
I have two that signed up in advance. I have Mr. Dale from Dale Completed Landscaping.
Okay, and as you come forward to speak, you'll have 3 minutes for your comments, and you need to state your name and address for the record, please. So at this time, Mr. Dale.
Okay, that was good. My address is 5730 8th Street, Zephyrhills, Florida. I've lived in this town quite a long time. I appreciate all of you on this board. I think what you guys do is great. This past week, we got our water bill. It said that you guys were going to raise prices. For a citizen who's lived here quite a long time, my concern is and I know it's not you guys, we currently have a new Pasco bill that's going to come through with a road bill. We now also have a Parks and Rec bill, and to see that is already an issue. And then to see our property taxes go up, which I get is a big deal because that kind of thing. But I just need clarification, and I guess some other people who called me freaking out and said, hey, Dale, you need to go up and have a good old question with you guys and figure out why on our water bill it states there's going to be a raise when I didn't see anything in news or whatever.
So it stated that it was a millage rate increase?
Yeah, so there's going to be some sort of rate on the actual bill itself that was on the very, very bottom or down towards the end of whatever it is.
So the requirements for utility rate increases, we have to advertise on the water bills at least 30 days in advance. So it went out on every water bill to the ratepayers that the meetings would be tonight and on the 23rd. So advertising both meetings for the hearings. It's also, I'm trying to look for somebody. It's also in the newspaper as well, correct?
Okay, so this is on the
Where's Ted?
utility rates. Is that what you're referring to?
So it's just another bill that's going to go up when it ties into the fact of your property taxes are going up, and you can't sell a house for beans right now. So you're kind of like, it's just another bill, so you're kind of stuck. And there's all this building going on, and those that have lived in Zephyrhills for a long time, I understand Zephyrhills is included in Pasco, but Pasco County's about to put on the bill, on the new tax bill, a new road fee and a new Parks and Rec fee that wasn't there years ago. And to then see that, it's like everything, we understand inflation. We understand the people that I talk with, we understand that things are going to go up in price. But to have it happen basically simultaneously across the board is difficult.
Oh, I get what you're saying, and I know that that's on the agenda. The utility rates is on tonight's agenda later on.
Right.
So I don't know if you wanted to stay to listen to the analysis on that, or you don't want to get into that now because
Correct.
we're going to do it later on. So we're going to address that if you want to just sit in and then
Yeah, I mean.
Okay. And as far as what Pasco County, the
No,
things.
again, I
Yeah, we
understand.
can't do anything about what Pasco County puts on their,
And do I have enough
on
time to
those.
ask?
But I get it, yeah, it all kind of adds up, so.
Do I have time to ask
stay
one
the
other
same.
minute question?
Right, but that's why we maintain the same millage rate for this upcoming year, so the property taxes for the city of Zephyrhills are not going up.
Do I have for one little teeny weeny question? And favor?
Very quickly.
Okay. So in property, when you sell it, you sell off of comps, which means on a street, if you sell a house for $350,000 and you sell another house down the street for, let's say, $250,000, if there's a ton of rentals on that entire street, that means there isn't change in comps. That's another thing that a lot of people are dealing with trying to sell their homes, because there's tons of investment properties in this town, and where literally the fluctuation of being able to sell your house at what it's per se valued at can't be sold because the guy down the street just bought it for a rental, which means that comp just disappears. Is there any chance the city can put a moratorium on how many rentals in the city so that there can be fluctuation? Because in an HOA, there's so many houses that can sell for whatever it is, and there is in the guide laws of most HOAs, they're not allowed, for instance, Bridgewater, you can't have so many rental properties on so many streets.
Yeah, the HOAs and the developments can put restrictions on that. The city itself can't really restrict how many rentals a person can own. And
So Gainesville.
and as far as the prices, that's driven by real estate market. We can't really even do anything about that either.
Again, I understand. These are just questions that people have asked me since
Right.
I have no problem asking them. But
I understand it. All right, well, thank you very much. And like I said, we will be addressing the utility rates later on in the agenda if you want to sit for that.
Thanks.
Thank you. Ricardo, next.
Yes, I have one more. Jeff Geiger.
All right, Jeff Geiger. And again, state your name and address for the record on the microphone, please, and you have 3 minutes for your comments.
My name is Jeff Geiger. I live at 5222 16th Street, Zephyrhills. And my concerns is the flooding. Since we've been there, we moved back to this area. I'm a native of Zephyrhills. My whole family was born and raised in Zephyrhills. Since we moved back to Zephyrhills 10 years ago, my girlfriend bought a house on 16th Street at 5222 16th Street. And every year that the city goes in there and builds the road up, every time it rains, it floods our property that much more. There's an empty lot next to us that we're really afraid that they're going to go in there and build a home on it. And when they build that lot up to build, this is going to flood us out completely. We won't even be able to stay in our property. And, you know, I know they're saying that we've had a lot of extra rain this year. No, I disagree with that. I've been here all my life. I remember you used to be able to set your clock by the rain showers in the afternoon. Zephyr Lake, the way it looks now, that's the way it stayed when I was a kid. I learned to fish in that lake. I learned to swim in that lake. And it's not flooding. It's been that way for years. And my concern is, why does the city keep building that road up? And all it's doing is pushing more water over on us. The last good storm that we had out there, when the roads were flooded, people were going through there like 45 and 50 miles an hour, and it was causing big wakes. All the way up in my neighbor's house, her garage got flooded. Our back porch got flooded. And it was simply because of people running through there 40, 45, 50 miles an hour and causing a wake that would just wash right up in our yards. And, you know, I really feel as though something needs to be done with the roads for one, but mainly the drainage, because the drainage is horrible there. It can rain for 10 minutes, and that corner where we live at 16th and 3rd is a foot underwater. And the water's not going nowhere. It's sitting right there for people to run through it with the cars and flood our yards. And that's, you know, something should be done.
And, I mean, we've seen where they're gonna trying to raise the taxes to do improvements at the park. Well, why don't you fix the neighborhoods before you fix the park? The park is fine. It looks horrible, but that's the way it was. It stayed that way when I was a kid. And I've been here for 70 years. And, you know, why can't we get something done with the drainage in the area?
All right, well, thank you, Mr. Geiger. And by you say building the road up, is it when they repave it, you mean, or is, I mean, I don't think we've actually done
We've
anything.
been back here in this area for 10 years. I moved to Dade City for 15 years and raised my family in Dade City. I raised 5
Okay.
kids by myself.
And so it's just the repaving part of it. But as far, and I'm somewhat familiar with that area, I can't picture it exactly, but I know the city and the county have both been working diligently and to solve some of the issues that we have. And I'm not sure if that's been a problem area in the past or not. I really don't know. Couldn't say for sure, but as we hear the thunder, it's going to get ready to rain again tonight. And we have had a lot of rain in the last, condensed into a short period of time for sure. So I don't know, is there any, I just don't know on the issues in that particular part of town. Is it something maybe Public Works could, Shane could?
Where it's at is maybe 2 blocks behind the Catholic Church on Fifth Avenue.
Okay.
And it's always flooded there. But when the city goes in there and builds that road up, it puts more water on our property. And then you get people running through there with their cars, causing a wake. It just floods our place.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, council, Public Works can look at that. I know that the Public Works directors had spent the last probably 3 days nonstop on the phone dealing with flooding issues. We'll look at it. When Mr. Geiger states that we raise up the road, I think he's speaking of repaving.
right, that's
So we can look at that. I believe Shane has already looked at it. I will remind council, on Tuesday evening, we had 4.5 inches in an hour-and-a-half span. There's not a stormwater system that can handle that amount of rain, that intensity in such a short duration. But
right, we're seeing it all around the whole
Water
Tampa.
table's already saturated.
Yeah, and the whole Tampa Bay area is having this problem. I mean, Sarasota, Bradenton, St. Pete, Tampa, everywhere.
Yeah, Zephyrhills is not unique in
Right.
this situation right now, but I know Shane has been looking at it. I don't know if you've had conversations with this homeowner.
Well, when you're talking about we had that 4.5 inches, I called the police department to get somebody out there because there was a car going through the water slowly, like he should be, and there was this young person in a truck that come right in past him right in front of our house. And that's going to cause one terrible accident. Somebody's going to get killed there.
Right.
They're running in there hitting that water, and it's horrible.
Yeah.
Shane LeBlanc, Public Works Director. We have looked at this site. In fact, I have a map of the site right here that we do have some drainage swales on the side of the road. And I haven't talked to Mr. Geiger personally, but we went out and did a site investigation. And 1 block over on 17th Street, we had a culvert pipe that was plugged, that we unplugged, that may have been withholding some of that water. But this area is typical in a heavy rain event that it gets water in the swales and then it perks out. And
Well, and like you said, unfortunately, it takes a rain for you find out some of these places that are plugged up. And so hopefully what you've done there will remedy the situation. And maybe we'll find out tonight if that's the case or not. But if it was significantly plugged, I'm sure it was backing it up pretty bad.
it was
So,
backed up.
oh, okay.
My grandparents lived on 8th Street, just on the other side, just on the south side of C Avenue. My grandparents lived there, and when Hurricane Donna came through here, I was just a kid, but I was walking in water this deep in their house.
Yeah, we know Florida's it's going to happen. We're going to get hurricanes. So, well, I thank you for bringing it to our attention. And as you heard, first thing we've done is try to unplug a stopped-up culvert. So hopefully that will solve the problem. So we'll have to see from going forward. But thank you for bringing it to our attention.
Okay, thank you.
Ricardo, you said?
I have none others that have signed up in advance.
Okay. All right. So that is the citizens' comments for items that are not on the agenda. And at this time, it's the mayor's portion of the meeting. The mayor's not here, so the city manager is going to kind of take the lead on this. And we have a couple of fun presentations here, so.
So the first item, 2.1, is the Daughters of the American Revolution, the proclamation. So
I have the privilege of reading that for
Okay,
my fellow
perfect.
members. Okay. Sorry, girls, you're going to have to be satisfied with me because Nelly's not here. Let's turn this around. Okay. Whereas Constitution Week is the commemoration of America's most important document, the United States Constitution stands as a testament to the tenacity of Americans throughout history to maintain their liberties, freedoms, and inalienable rights. The commitment of the NSDAR is to encourage study and educate the public about the Constitution, which was adopted by the American Congress of the Confederation on September 17th, 1787. And whereas the 237th anniversary of the drafting of the Constitution provides a historic opportunity for all Americans to learn about and recall the achievements of our founders and to reflect on the rights and privileges of citizenship. Whereas the celebration of the Constitution was started by the Daughters of the American Revolution. In 1955, the National Society of Daughters of the American Revolution petitioned Congress to set aside September 17th through 23rd annually to be dedicated for the observance of Constitution Week. The resolution was later adopted by the U.S. Congress and signed into public law on August 2nd, 1956 by President Dwight D. Eisenhower. George W. Bush officially declared the inception of Constitution Week in 2002. And whereas the Daughters of the American Revolution is a lineage-based membership service organization for women who are direct descendants of soldiers of the Revolutionary period who aided the United States struggle for independence. And whereas it is the greatest importance that all citizens fully understand the provisions and principles contained in the Constitution in order to support it, preserve it, and defend it against encroachment. And now, therefore, I, Jody Wilkson, at the behest of Melanie Barbmonston, by virtue of the authority vested in me by the mayor of the city of Zephyrhills in the state of Florida, do hereby proclaim the week of September 17th to 23rd, 2024 as Constitution Week. Reaffirm the ideals of the framers of the Constitution had in 1887 by vigilantly protecting the freedoms guaranteed to us through the guardian of our liberties. In witness thereof, I have heretofore asked the mayor to set her hand and cause to be affixed the official seal of the city of Zephyrhills, Pasco County, Florida, on this 9th day of September 2024. And I'd like to invite the ladies of the Daughters of the American Revolution, who are also my fellow members. So please join me, and we'll have photographs taken.
Squeeze together, pretend you like each other.
All right, I'm gonna give you a couple here.
There we go. All right. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. And I'll get one with my phone. One, two, three. Very good, thank you.
Mr. President, I ask that we move item 2.2 to September 23rd. The individual that was presenting is out of town and was not able to get back in time. So if we can move 2.2 to the 23rd meeting, and we'll go to item 2.3.
Okay, Chief. Time for the good stuff right here.
Derek Brewer, Police Chief, City of Zephyrhills. Tonight I would like to introduce and swear in 4 of our newest officers. As I go through, I'm going to bring you up individually, bring the person that's going to pin you, and I'll swear you in, and then the person that's pinning you can sit, and then you guys come over here, okay? So tonight I'm going to start with Eugene Howard. Just stay right there. Eugene Howard was born and raised in Tampa, Florida. After graduating from Robinson High School in 1991, he began working in security, doing various assignments such as sporting and concert events. In 2000, Eugene began working for the Florida Department of Corrections. He continued his law enforcement career by joining the Pasco Sheriff's Office in 2003, where he was assigned to inmate housing and later to patrol deputy. In 2015, Eugene joined the Zephyrhills Police Department and spent 8 years as a patrol officer. During his tenure at ZPD, he received a Life-Saving Award and a Unit Citation Award. In May of 2023, Eugene retired from the Zephyrhills Police Department as the longest tenured African-American police officer for the department. We're very excited to have Eugene back with us for his next retirement, starting last week. So we're very excited to have Gene back. So go ahead and get you pinned. Whoever's going to pin you. Go ahead.
If you might want to get Velcro, because
Yeah, I know.
everybody has a hard time with
Yeah, I
those.
know. All right, you can. All right, Gene. Raise your right hand. I state your name. Do solemnly swear that I will support, protect, and defend the Constitution and government of the United States of America and the state of Florida and the city of Zephyrhills against all enemies, domestic and foreign, and that I will bear true faith, loyalty, and allegiance to the same, and that I will faithfully perform all the duties of a police officer of Zephyrhills, of which I am about to enter. So help me God.
Tarvish.
Perfect, thank you.
Heather? Who's pinning you? Okay, got it. Heather Triplett, a proud native of Pasco County, Florida, graduated from Zephyrhills High School in 2010. She began her career as a phlebotomist at Pasco Regional Hospital in 2013. However, Heather's passion for public service led her to pursue law enforcement, and she graduated from the police academy at Pasco Hernando State College in 2018. After graduation, she joined the Pasco County Sheriff's Office, where she dedicated 5 years to serving her community. Heather met her fiancé in 2021 and welcomed their daughter in 2022. This past June, their family grew with the birth of their son. Heather is excited to continue her law enforcement career and is committed to positively impacting her community as an officer and a dedicated mother. Please help me welcome Heather. We'll go ahead and get Richard Kim. She actually applied 3 weeks after giving birth to her son, so she was ready to come back. All right. Can you raise your right hand with her in your hand, in your arms there? All right. I state your name. Do solemnly swear that I will support, protect, and defend the Constitution and government of the United States of America and the state of Florida and the city of Zephyrhills against all enemies, domestic and foreign, and that I will bear true faith, loyalty, and allegiance to the same, and that I will faithfully perform all the duties of a police officer of Zephyrhills, of which I am about to enter, so help me God.
Good, thank you.
Kevin? Who's pinning you? Oh, all right. All right. Kevin Massion was born February 16th, 1998 in Miami, Florida, and raised between Haiti, California, and Ocala, Florida. After completing high school in 2016, Kevin attended Valencia College in Orlando, where he studied criminal justice. He graduated with an AS degree and is pursuing his bachelor's degree in business administration. In 2018, Kevin began working as an employee with Lockheed Martin, specializing in building hardware for defense systems for the United States Armed Forces. In 2021, he began his law enforcement career as a correctional officer with the Department of Corrections, where he served as a member of the emergency response team. However, Kevin has always had a passion for becoming a police officer. In 2023, he put himself through the Crossover Academy at Lake Technical College in Tavares, while maintaining a full-time work schedule at the prison. We're very excited to have Kevin with us. And you ready to get sworn in? All right. I see you got pinned already. All right. All right. Raise your right hand. I state your name.
I, Kevin Massion,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support, protect, and defend
that I will support, protect, and defend
the Constitution and government of the United States of America
the Constitution and government of the United States of America
and the state of Florida
and the state of Florida
and the city of Zephyrhills
and the city of Zephyrhills
against all enemies,
against all enemies,
domestic and foreign,
domestic and foreign,
and that I will bear true faith,
and that I will bear true faith,
loyalty,
loyalty,
and allegiance to the same,
and allegiance to the same,
and that I will faithfully perform
and that I will faithfully perform
all the duties of a police officer of Zephyrhills,
all the duties of a police officer of Zephyrhills,
for which I am about to enter,
for which I am about to enter,
so help me God.
so help me God.
Perfect, thank you.
And last but not least, Chanel. All right. Chanel Beltran was born and raised in the Bronx, New York. As the oldest of 5 siblings, Chanel always took on a leadership role, guiding and supporting her younger brothers and sisters. In 2019, Chanel graduated from high school. Following graduation, she pursued higher education at Dutchess Community College, where she studied business administration. However, driven by a strong sense of duty and desire to serve her country, Chanel paused her academic pursuits and enlisted in the United States Air Force. In the Air Force, she was stationed at, is it Minot? Minot. I thought that T would be silent. Minot Air Force Base in North Dakota. After serving, Chanel moved to Wesley Chapel to be with her family and pursue her career in law enforcement. Chanel is excited to begin her career in law enforcement with the Zephyrhills Police Department, Zephyrhills Police Department, as she strives to positively impact her community and beyond. Nice work. Chanel, raise your right hand for me. I state your name. Do solemnly swear that I will support, protect, and defend the Constitution and government of the United States of America and the state of Florida and the city of Zephyrhills against all enemies, domestic and foreign, and that I will bear true faith, loyalty, and allegiance to the same, and that I will faithfully perform all the duties of a police officer of Zephyrhills, of which I am about to enter, so help me God.
Perfect, thank you. Group shot, yep. You wanna line them up?
Chief in the middle, yeah, chief in the middle. Thank you for that. That's it. Perfect. All right, get the picture. You're good? All right. 1, 2, 3. Looks good, thank you.
Well, welcome aboard. Welcome aboard, Officers Triplett, Massian, and Beltran, and welcome back, Officer Howard. At this time, I'm going to allow the families to join them in the lobby where they can continue the celebration and they don't have to maybe get bored. Give them just a second to file out. All right, we have 5 consent agenda items, and I will leave it up to the pleasure of the council of whether to approve all 5 or to pull any for further discussion.
I make a motion that we approve all 5.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the 5 consent agenda items. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed unanimously. All right, we'll move on to our business items. And the first one is the adoption of the tentative millage.
President. Thank you, Mr. President. Item 4.1 is adopting the tentative millage rate. It is first reading of ordinance number 1492-24, ordinance of the City Council of the City of Zephyrhills, Florida, levying the millage rate for the fiscal year 2024 through 2025 for the City of Zephyrhills.
Okay, this is a public hearing, so I'm going to open the public hearing at this time, and we'll get a report from the finance director, I guess.
Come on up, Mr.
No?
Beeson.
Yes. Well, we just,
I'm going to go ahead and proceed. I just want to go ahead and read something into the record. The millage rate that you're going ahead considering, 6.25, the rollback rate for the City of Zephyrhills is calculated to be 5.9552 mils according to Florida statute 200.065. In this ordinance, we are setting the millage rate at 6.25. The 6.25 millage rate is considered a 4.95% increase according to Florida statute 200.065. 6.25 is what we've had the millage rate for the past 3 years. So you're keeping it the same.
Okay.
And that's what our budget is based on.
All right, thank you, Ted. Do we have anybody signed to speak to this item?
No, we do not.
All right. I'm going to go ahead and close the public hearing and open the council for discussion or a motion.
I make a motion that we pass item 4.1 on the first reading.
Second.
Having a motion and a second to approve ordinance number 1492-24 on the first reading. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion passed unanimously. All right. 4.3.
4.2, I believe.
Oh, I'm sorry, 4.2.
Yeah, thank you. 4.2 is adoption of the tentative budget. It's a first reading of ordinance number 1493-24, ordinance of the City Council of the City of Zephyrhills, Florida, adopting a budget for the 2024-2025 fiscal year. And this is a public hearing as well.
Okay, at this time, I'll open the public hearing. Is anyone here to speak to this item?
No.
All right. I will close the public hearing. And
I do have a question.
okay. All right, well, I'll leave the public hearing open then.
Okay. I had asked at our workshop about the capital improvement plan, and I was asked for an explanation about how the total penny for Pasco was funded into the plan.
Yes. What we talked about earlier today. Funding of the excuse me. Funding of the capital funding for the Public Works facility and parks.
Oh, yes, okay.
Sorry, we had a presentation to go through. So I just quickly click the, sorry. It's just a couple clicks, if you don't mind. There we go. So just for this budget, $1.5 billion is the aggregate assessed property value. We budget 95% of that at the proposed millage rate of 6.25 mils. Revenue generated is $9.3 million in ad valorem revenue. The millage rate, which you just approved the tentative millage rate, this lays out those numbers. So we can go to the next one. Total budget that you're asked to approve tonight as a tentative is $105,266,502, which includes all the requests that council had throughout the budget workshops. And then this answers the question that you just asked, the capital funding Public Works facility, and I'll let Finance Director Ted Beeson go.
Yeah, we went ahead and laid out the expenditures that we expect. In 2025, it would be $2 million for the design, and that would be paid $1.2 million penny for Pasco It's $600,000 out of the working capital of the utility fund, $200,000 out of the working capital for the sanitation fund. In 2026, we anticipate perhaps expenditures of $6 million, again, split between the various funds. $3.6 million would be handled under our reserves in the general fund, while $1.8 million would be out of working capital, again, in the utility fund, and $600,000 in sanitation. Then in year 3, $10 million worth of construction, and again, to be funded $2 million out of reserves in the general fund, and then spread across the rest of the spreadsheet. We would ask for debt financing of $4 million governmental, $1.5 million in the utility, and $600,000 in sanitation if we haven't worked through our reserves. If we still have adequate reserves, then we would go ahead and use the reserves to go ahead and fund that structure. So out of the $18 million, we anticipate that we would have less than $6 million of debt to go ahead and take on. And if you could advance the slide, Ricardo. Then similarly, Zephyr Park, the design is $1 million, and we have that funded out of the ARPA funds that we got from the federal government. Construction in 2026. Reserves, we could go ahead and have $2 million dedicated for the construction there. Debt finance happen in 2026, 2027, and we would need $8 million to accomplish that. When we have the chance or the opportunity to do the debt financing, we would probably want to package it together, go out one time in order to get those funds.
What would the total debt be then? The total debt would be?
I think the total debt is
Eight
the
there.
$12 million.
$12 million for the two projects?
For the two projects.
About 6 and 6 then?
Correct. $8 million for the Zephyr Park, and then.
Oh, all right. 4.
Yeah,
All
on
right.
the other.
All right. All right, thank you.
All right, you have any other questions?
Thank you.
Go ahead.
Mr. Beeson, what percentage of that is our, of the total budget? $12 million of $105 million?
Yeah, I mean, roughly 10%.
Okay. And is this a common way that municipalities fund large projects?
Yeah, you want to go ahead and try to match your useful life of the asset and have that financed over a period of time. This building was going to last 30 years or more, and so when we went ahead and built this building, it was financed. It's a common procedure to go ahead and say when you have these large capital projects, try to pay it off over time.
All right, and just kind of recap, so we've had several workshops on the budget, and this was kind of like our first reading at it, and as the finance director indicated, the millage rate has remained the same, and we had just lowered that 2 years ago, was that correct?
I think it
3
was
years ago, we lowered it, and so it remains the same. I'm going to close the public hearing and turn it over.
Mr. President, if I can just for clarification purposes, what was presented to you tonight is our idea of how it is funded. It'll all be formalized and be brought back before council, correct?
Oh, yes, as we
Okay.
go forward, there's going to be plenty of checks, and you'll
Okay.
have an opportunity to vote on the form of debt financing and
Correct.
authorize the staff to proceed.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that everyone understood this is not the final plan. This is what we put together, our estimate at the moment, yes, with the information we have. Yeah.
And potentially, could we get funding from another source, like the state or grant funding and things like that, if we pursued that at a later date?
Correct.
Correct.
Okay.
All right. Council?
President, Have you closed the public hearing?
Yes, I did.
You have, okay. At this time, I'd like to move that we approve the first readings ordinance number 1493-24 for the adopt this tentative budget.
A second.
I have a motion second to approve ordinance number 1493-24 on the first reading. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Thank you very much. 4.3.
Thank you, Mr. President. Item 4.3 is the first reading of ordinance number 1473-24, ordinance of the City Council of the City of Zephyrhills, Florida, creating section 51.23 of the City Code of Ordinances, establishing a new schedule of rates and charges for the use or availability for the use of potable water, wastewater, and reclaimed water, providing for repealer, severability, and an effective date.
Okay, I'm going to open the public hearing and let Ted kind of go through this.
Yeah, the ordinance before you is a modest 3% increase in our water and sewer rates across the board. The last time those rates were increased was October of 2021. So we've had a 3-year span during the pandemic, during some record high inflation, and now we come to you and say we'd like to go ahead and increase those rates 3%. I think that that's justifiable, what we talked about during the budget process too. These funds were ahead and budgeted to, we are anticipating your passage of this ordinance in order to go ahead and justify what we have in the budget. There's no structural changes in the ordinance brought before you. We're not going to change the method in which we charge our customers. The base rates remain the same, and the use rates have a tiered system very similar to what we've done in the past. No changes.
Okay, thank you, Ted. So you said it's been since 2021 since there's been a rate increase?
That's correct.
Okay, is anyone signed up to speak to this?
No.
All right. Somebody
As I
Council
recall,
President.
yeah, we had a sewer
was
rate
speaking
study.
earlier.
This is, the rates are proposed just for this year. It's not an automatic renewal in the upcoming years, correct?
Correct, yes, sir.
Okay, and that was one of my concerns when we talked about this previously, so I'm glad to hear that.
Well,
Anybody else have any? Go ahead.
I have a couple of questions. You said that the base rates don't change, so the 3% is only on the usage?
No, sir, I'm sorry. The structure is the same, but we will increase the base rates by 3%, and we will increase the usage by 3%.
By 3%.
as well.
So okay, all right, okay. And then I have a question, because this is based on the utility rate study from last year, and that had built into it rate increases up until 2028.
Correct.
So
So the plan, instead of making it, because we've heard concerns about having it as, having the rate increase as an automatic renewal each year, we will bring it back before council each of the next, would it be 3 years, opposed to automatic renewal.
all right, and will this go to 2029 since we didn't raise rates last year, or?
No, it'll still stop at 2028, and then we'll have to do a new study. Yep. So essentially what we did was we did not raise the rates last year as indicated in the study. Right.
So the rates, upcoming rates will be 2.5%, it's not 3%.
No, the rates are at 3%. We went ahead and said that we were going to take that 3% this year because it had been 3 years since we had a rate increase.
Right, I mean, this year will be 3%, but subsequent years, it's 2.5%.
It could be as low as 2.5%, yes, sir, each year.
I mean, that's what the rate study showed.
Right.
Right. Right now, all we're voting on is the 3% for this year.
No, but I'm asking, we're basing those rates on a rate study that included rates for subsequent years.
Right.
So in order to follow the rate study, are we planning on raising rates for the next 4 years?
Yes, we will come back before council to ask for the rates to be increased, potentially, depending on what happens with projections. But based on that study, yes, we will come back before council each of the next 3 years to ask for rate increases. But not the right, I'm not sure if that's,
Well, what I'm saying, are we following the rate study or not, I guess?
yes. Yeah, the rate increases are based on the rate study.
So next year, projected would be 2.
Correct. Yep.
Okay, so that answers your question then, right? It's
That-
just based on that.
My recollection was during this study is that our rates were the lowest or some of the lowest in the whole region, and that we had not raised rates enough, so they were proposing like a 10% increase, and we were like, no, let's do it over a period of time. I think that's my recollection of the rate study discussion, but.
No, I don't remember
That
that.
could have been previous, Councilman Wilkinson, but,
Yeah.
yeah, this was a modest rate increase, but it was, we're kind of in line with what Pasco County is doing.
We're in the middle.
And, yeah, we're certainly not the lowest, but.
We were mid-range.
Correct, yes, sir.
I think maybe it was before that then, 2023, right?
Part of the last conversation that we had last year was looking at changing it to increase by the CPI, which would have been higher this past year. But that was we withdrew that request, and we're going with the study, and we're not going with the CPI.
All right. Any other questions? Okay, and I like the fact that we are looking at it year by year. All right, I'm going to close the public hearing and turn it to council.
Council President, you choose Mr. Dale, just walked back in.
All right, did you want to speak to this item?
We're on the utility rates, so if you'd like to speak to it, you have to come to the microphone. If not, you can come back to the September 23rd, which is a second reading.
We'll talk about it again on September 20. Yeah, and then we'll have this again on the September 23rd meeting, this exact same discussion. Okay. All right, the public hearing has been closed, and a pleasure to council at this point.
Nobody wants to do it, but.
I'll move that we pass the first reading of ordinance number 1473-24.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second to approve ordinance 1473-24 on the first reading. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed unanimously. All right, 4.4.
4.4 is first reading of ordinance number 1490-24, ordinance of the City Council of the City of Zephyrhills, Florida, annexing approximately 12.92 acres, more or less, into the corporate limits of the city, described as parcel 18/26/22/0010005000000, Zephyrhills, Florida, in accordance with Section 171.044 Florida statutes, providing for severability, conflicts, and an effective date. And this is also a public hearing.
At this time, I'll open a public hearing. We'll hear from Rodney.
Good evening, Council. Principal Planner Rod Corvo. This is just to give you a 30-second refresher, this is a three-part application and annexation into the city, a future land use map amendment of light industrial, and then a zoning amendment to, FLUMA to industrial, and then zoning to LI, light industrial. As Matt said, it's approximately 13 acres. We do have capacity under the existing water use permit for industrial. The applicant is Baduka Foods. There is no application right now for development. This is for potential future development, okay? So at the time that there is an actual application brought forth, at that time we'll do the full environmentals, traffic impact, and such. This fits nicely into our objective of the land the land around the airport, the industrial corridor. So staff is recommending approval. The applicant's representative is here if you have any further questions.
All right, thank you, Rodney.
I'd like to just clarify one thing. The applicant's 5L Properties. I think potential end user is planned to be Baduco Foods, but it's 5L Properties is the applicant.
Thank you. Yes, I apologize on that.
Okay.
That's correct.
Ricardo, is anyone signed to speak to this item?
No, I don't have anyone signed up to speak to this item.
All right. Anybody like to speak to this item? All right, discussion?
No, I have no.
All right, I'm going to close the public hearing and turn to council.
President, I move that we approve the annexation as proposed by staff, ordinance number 1490-24.
Second.
A motion, a second, to approve ordinance 1490-24 on the first reading. All in favor, say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you.
Business item 4.5, it's first reading of ordinance number 1491-24, ordinance of the City Council of the City of Zephyrhills, Florida, proposing amendment to the city's comprehensive plan, providing for small-scale comprehensive plan amendment to the future land use map, changing from county IL to city IN industrial, in the zoning designation from county AC to city LI light industrial for approximately 12.92 acres of real property located south of 6th Avenue, west of Chancey Road, and east of the Zephyrhills Municipal Airport, having parcel ID 182622001005000000, providing for repeal or conflict severability and an effective date. And again, the applicant's 5L Properties, and I think that the proposed end user would be an expansion of the Baduco manufacturing facility.
Okay, at this time, I'll open a public hearing, and I'll let Roddy just for questions, or you want to just?
Just for questions, if you have any.
Okay. Has anybody signed up to speak to this?
No.
Okay, council, you have any questions for Rodney on the zoning?
Yeah, Rodney, this is the same, it's for Baduco?
Correct.
Okay,
Well, 5L technically, yes.
thank you.
5L, yeah, so making it,
Yeah.
Sorry.
okay. All right, any other questions? Now I'll close the public hearing. Council?
President, I move we approve ordinance 1491-24 on its first reading.
I'll second.
I have a motion to second to approve ordinance 1491-24 on the first reading. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passed unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rodney. I just want to reiterate that when he used the word development, this is industrial and industrial for the airport area.
Yeah, the anticipated purchaser, I believe it's under contract, is Baduco Foods it's
Right.
right next door to where the big facility's going.
Did I read the right number?
Yes, I think you did.
Yeah, I was watching.
4.6 is the, a resolution number 827-24, resolution by the City Council of the City of Zephyrhills, Florida, relating to height, approving a conditional use to exceed the height limitations of the LI Light Industrial Zoning District on parcel 07262200000001000012, finding conformity with the comprehensive plan and land development code and providing for an effective date. Now, the applicant on this is Elise USA 19 Inc., which is the company that owns the land of Baduco Foods. It's essentially Baduco Foods. And I think we've checked with airport and all the surrounding areas. It's for the manufacturing facility, conditional use to for them to go up to 63 feet on a portion of their facility.
Right, and we've had some discussion on that before. So I'm going to open a public hearing. Todd, you just for
Very briefly, at our last meeting, you saw the comprehensive Baduco PowerPoint presentation showing the subject property located at the southwest corner of Chancey Road and South Avenue, 6th Avenue, I'm sorry. We brought up this one slide here. This one actually shows the height. I think you recall at the meeting, myself and the applicant's representative, who is here tonight as well, if you have any questions, but they had to go up to 63 feet, and that necessitates the conditional use petition. Of course, going over 30 feet. And again, as the city attorney mentioned, they've been through FAA, and the FAA has approved that height. So that's the purpose where we do a resolution. It just has one public hearing that we're doing tonight. If you have any questions, but you can see the various different heights that are identified in the different phases here. You can see on top there the heights of 63 feet.
And as I recall, they even kind of reconfigured their initial plans to make sure that it was as far away from any issues as possible. So.
And again, we didn't want to proceed until we had FAA approval,
Right.
and they have that.
And my recollection is also that the building is kind of stepped, so it's not like this freestanding
exactly.
giant space.
Right.
And
we
it's for the
looked at-
robotics inside, right? They have.
Correct. For the manufacturing process that they are required, need to do, they need that height.
What exactly are they using the extra height for?
For their operations and.
It's one of their machinery.
Yeah, some of their machinery. Yep.
The silo, like?
David's here, Mr. Fleeman.
Okay.
Answer that question probably.
I'm Greg Crawford with Florida Engineering Group. No problem. 5127 South Orange Avenue. Really what happens with the 63 feet, they have certain mechanical equipment they have inside, some machinery that does require the 63 foot on the inside on that. So the silos, they're going to be just internal. They got some processing that going that way, but this 63 foot is strictly for some equipment that just they need some height for it to fit that inside the building.
So they're going to need it. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Ricardo's not even signed to speak to this?
No, I don't have anyone signed to speak.
All right. I will close the public hearing and turn it over to council.
President, I move that we approve the first and only reading of resolution number 827-24.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to approve resolution 827-24. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed unanimously. Thank you, Todd. And now we're going to the planning director report, which is Todd, but we're going to flip 5.2 and put that in front of 5.1.
Actually, Mr. President, can we just move 5.1 to the end of the section? We'll do 5.2, 5.3, 5.4, and then go back to 5.1.
We'll just move 5.1 all the way to the end of the
Yes, sir.
planning
Please.
director report.
We need a motion for that, or is just internal?
I don't think so, yeah.
All right, so we're starting with 5.2.
Yeah, well, tonight the planning department's excited to share an Esri GIS software product that we're very interested in providing in our GIS software offerings that we strongly believe that it's going to help the planning department conduct our business. I'll be introducing some representatives from Esri in just a second. Appreciate their patience going through this meeting. We didn't know how long we were going to have to be online till we got to their item, but the city currently uses an ArcGIS platform agreement that we've had with Esri and been using that with other departments to help with the GIS needs since 2020. We had the agreement. I believe we all have come to realize that that important, powerful planning tool is being able to visualize how a project is going to look. To be able to see the project, the site, before any activity is done on it, and then post-construction, being able to see how that finished product looks from not only the use, the grades, the elevations, the architectural elements, and even the buffering make a big difference. So it's been a big topic of discussion. So we've had the opportunity to, both myself and Tommy Lee, we've both been at conferences and were introduced to this new Esri urban software that we believe is going to provide a very powerful planning tool, not only for staff, but for planning commission, for you guys to be able to see projects as they develop. So I think right now what I'd like to do is we have Ms. Judy Fong online that's virtually with us tonight, and we're going to go through a PowerPoint showing some slides, and then we'll she's going to take over the screen and show some additional information as well. Ms. Judy Fong, are you with us still?
Yes. Hi, everyone. Thank you, Todd, and the city team, for inviting us, the ESRI team, again to present tonight. My name is Judy Fong. I am a solution engineer on ESRI's Site Suites team, and the ESRI team has been working with City of Zephyrhills to get planners enabled with, scenario planning software to support, long-term planning efforts within the city. I also have a few members joining me today on the ESRI side, which will be able to support questions if there are any questions that comes up. Again, really appreciate the opportunity tonight to give everyone an overview of, what a Just Urban platform is and how it can help the city to conduct streamlined planning workflows. So I'm going to go through a really quick overview. So Just Urban is essentially a 3D digital twin platform that supports collaborative data-driven urban planning. It is a platform where all stakeholders can dynamically design and provide feedback. It is data-driven. There are proper modeling tools and analysis tools for planners to assess impacts of urban proposals. And it is an urban planning tool, so it combines a lot of strategic scenario planning with a digital system of record for zoning and land use. Next slide, please. So there are a few major components of what Just Urban can support. So planners, designers, or even developers, they can use the platform to test different proposed variances to find maximum potentials. You can also use the platform to validate proposals against regulatory code, zoning, land use regulations. And you can also easily visualize and access impacts and benefits of any zoning or land use scenario for property owners, developers, or elected officials as well. Next slide, please. So planning teams a lot of the time needs better methods to facilitate updates to comprehensive plan, any zoning updates, and report on a lot of important metrics like housing productions, employment opportunities, and mobility. So Just Urban can lower the cost and impact of these plan updates by creating this data-driven framework for you to author new plans. You can very quickly iterate scenarios in 3D on the platform with a very intuitive interface. And it also allows you to collaborate across internal teams and third-party firms as well. Next slide, please. So a lot of the time, today's systems are restricted by silo data. So we see the need for planning departments to integrate different data sets to speed up design review process. So Just Urban provides a platform for planning team to review different proposals and plans that get submitted to the city. You can integrate 3D data set, LIM proposals, and then give a more accurate and clear guidance to both the planning team and developers and foster that common understanding between, public and private stakeholders as well. And it's also helped the city to be compliant with any regulatory policies and growth trends. Next slide, please. So I would like to just give a sneak peek of, some of the core functionalities of Just Urban. So first of all, Just Urban is completely 3D platform. So it allows planners to sketch out, build out scenarios really quickly in 3D. And all these buildings are entirely, up to the planners to design. And most importantly, after you generated these build out scenarios, Just Urban comes with out-of-the-box indicators that immediately tells you, how many housing units that you're being generated on a particular site, number of jobs generated, required parking, and even a lot of other important environmental capacity metrics like, wastewater usage, air quality, those kind of information as well. changes in 3D. This is one of the core features of the platform, so it allows planners to very easily see, for example, increasing or decreasing density in an area. What would that actually look like on the ground? Does that complement the existing neighborhood characteristic, or are there any changes that will be beneficial to the community? So it will be very easy for planners to see what that looks like on the ground and make a more informed decision. The platform also comes with suitability analysis. So, for example, if planners want to identify areas to increase housing productions, maybe you wanted to also emphasize on accessibility for certain amenities, right? Maybe increase housing areas that are close to the community health center, a station. So those are the things that you can build into the platform to understand and highlight those potential opportunities that you see. And then lastly, there are a lot of interactive spatial analysis tools within the platform that planners could use to understand, for example, shadow impact, taking into account elevation of certain areas to make more informed decisions on, building density, height, things like that as well. So that's the end of kind of the overview presentation. And with that, I would like to maybe take over the screen and show a really quick live demonstration of the platform to show, everyone how this actually works in action.
We're now the presenter, Judy.
Great. So, right. So it looks like I'm sharing my screen right now. All right. So for this quick live demo, I'm going to show you how the Arches Urban platform looks like. I'm using an example city demo over here, City of Fullerton, California. And right off the bat, as you can see, Arches Urban is a completely web-based tool. It's also 3D based, so it makes it really easy for planners to have access to all the planning information that we have. And as I zoom into the urban model here, you can see planners can have different projects and plans stored within this one single platform. So, you can constantly working on, different projects and plans at the same time, and you don't have to worry about, losing track of certain projects and community purposes. And because Arches Urban is 3D, it already comes with these 3D existing building contexts that you can leverage. So it gives a really good digital twin for whatever city area that you're working with before you conduct any planning scenario analysis. And on the top left here, there are three major components of Arches Urban. The first component is the project component, which kind of more tied into supporting current planning and permit tracking purposes. So imagine if you have a project that comes in, you wanted to review the rendering of the projects. You can use this functionality to track when and where these projects are being proposed. You can customize the statuses according to City of Zephyrhills permitting system, so that you can use it as a permit tracking platform, as well as a project review platform as well. And then we have the plans component, which supports long-range planning, so comprehensive plan updates or any downtown development plan that's long-range planning initiatives. All those activities can happen here. And as I mentioned before, you can have many different projects that you're working on at the same time and store in one single platform. And then lastly, we have indicators. Indicator is basically an area where planners can load information that will give you more insight about the city. In this example, City of Fullerton are really interested in looking at housing growth. So they do have some data that kind of platform that will identify areas that might need higher housing capacity. And I have opened up another plan to walk you through very quickly what that scenario planning tool looks like. So this is a transit-oriented development plan that I have opened up here. This is the plan area. And just a little bit of background, this plan is regional. This plan area was zoned mostly for industrial use, but the city would like to rezone this area to promote higher density and also increase housing capacity, since this is an area that's right next to the train station. So it's a great candidate site for transit-oriented development. So right now I am looking at the existing condition scenario here. As you can see, as a planner, I can easily zoom in and interact with the map view and understand what currently exists on the ground. And as you can see, in this area, majority of properties are zoned as manufacturing. I can also interact with the data on the side panel as well to get a better understanding of what other zoning districts are currently included in this plan area that I'm working on. And if I want to understand better about zoning potentials, as I mentioned, because Vector's Urban is 3D, you can actually leverage the 3D capabilities to better visualize what the maximum potential of a selected parcel would be based on the zoning regulations. And I can easily rezone area on the platform to understand, for example, if I increase density or height, maximum height within this area or on this particular parcel, what would that actually look like on the ground? Does that impact my neighborhood characteristics? Does that, look good, alongside existing neighborhood as well? So this is something basically give planners a really great sandbox environment to test out different zoning before we come up with the preferred scenario. And I'm going to switch over to an example scenario here showing, what that would look like if an area is being zoned to allow for higher density mixed-use development. As you can see, majority of the parcel here are already being rezoned to allow for high density residential and commercial development. And within the Address Urban platform, there are also a lot of default tools that planners can leverage to very quickly visualize, right, actual buildings onto parcels and understand, what that would actually look like. So as you can see just now, just with the field plates, I was able to generate a very simple building on the ground. I have a lot of capabilities that I can leverage to further address, different shapes of the building. And then most importantly is the ability to understand impacts. So in addition to, visually understand, what new proposed developments could look like, the Vectors Urban comes with what we call impact metrics to help you immediately understand, if I generate this building right here, what's the total number of households, sales tax revenue, market value, construction costs, trips, drops, what this impact could look like. And I'm going to turn over to, one of a fully built out scenario just to show you what that would look like. So this is a high density scenario that we're looking at here. And you can switch between different scenarios to see what that changes could look like in this environment. So it really helps planners to understand, impacts of different scenarios that they come up with, and help them pick and choose the one that will work best based on the community needs. And one last thing that I wanted to quickly walk through is Rogers Urban also works very well with another S3 platform called City Engine to allow you to visualize more realistic buildings. So, during the community engagement process, it's really important to also give you capabilities to make your potential scenarios more realistic looking, so that the public and important stakeholders can actually see and visualize what that would actually look like on the ground. And yeah, and I think that's all I have in terms of the memo for today. And I will give it back to the city team, and I see if there are time for any questions.
Okay, thank you, Judy. And I think this is a really valuable tool because not a lot of people, in fact, most people can't read working drawings or a topographical map or a site plan, so they miss out on some of the questions that they may have or comments they may have, and this is going to give all the interested parties an opportunity to see what is being talked about, and then maybe it does spur on some questions that wouldn't ordinarily, they wouldn't ordinarily have. So I'm assuming, Todd, this is a new software program that you're looking to move to? Because I know we have a GSI right now, but you're looking to move to a something like this.
Yeah, I want to thank Judy, Zach, and the rest of their ESRI team that has spent quite a bit of time with staff. Our whole team has been involved at conferences. We've done some online virtual meetings as well to get deep into this, to see what the opportunities are. I hope you had a chance to understand what we're able to do, and and part of this is we're updating our city comprehensive plan, and I think having a tool like this, when, where, how we're going to grow, what it looks like, that's one of the key elements, priorities that we're looking at this coming comp plan. Well, whether it's an area out northeast of the city, a large 2,000 acre, you could lay out different scenarios with all these different variables, some examples that you've seen here, and then you could scale into a small property where you're looking at a 4-story apartment or hotels, or you could look at a potential new redevelopment scenario. And again, you can throw in all these variables, floor area ratio, density, intensity, and you just put in those variables and it shows you. So yeah, a lot of power in the abilities to be able to visualize and see different alternative planning development scenarios. So yeah, what we're looking at, Tommy Lee would be the gatekeeper. She's our GIS community planner, and she would gatekeeper on this software program. We actually, with the proposal that we have, it's in your attachments, we have 2 licenses. So, she would be the gatekeeper, but we'd also have the opportunity to have another planner that would get educated and learn about the software too. So, happy to answer any questions. I'd like to get it as soon as possible, because with where we're at in the comp plan update, I do have monies budgeted in the planning department that we could get it paid for this fiscal year if council's in agreement, and then it's a one-time cost of the $49,000 that you see in there, and that includes the software, the implementation, the training, getting us all set up and do what they do to allow us to be able to move forward with this. And then there's a $3,300 for the licenses that would come every year, like a typical license would, but the other $49 is just a one-time fee.
Did Tommy Lee get an opportunity to demo it at all, or is it something that she'll be able to get up to speed fairly quickly on? Or
I'm very positive with Tommy Lee's abilities.
Yeah, I know she's been doing great so far.
To learn it and to do it, and there was another option, be a little cheaper, but this way they're helping us get it all implemented, and we get it done quicker, and just get Tommy Lee and the other planners trained on it so we can move forward. And
right, and I think it's important for others to be able to be trained on it too.
Exactly.
And then I know this is coming through the planning department, but there's other departments that will be
there's
using it. Did everybody seem to like this particular?
Well, I think the GIS is housed in the planning department, but we of course work with all the city departments in handling a lot of utility maps, and again, with all the data information that's available through this software, you saw a glimpse of it today. Even economic data we're able to provide, but yeah, all the departments will be able to take advantage of the new and better maps and visuals that could show utility lines, what you didn't see in the presentation. You can see above ground, underground, can show all the infrastructure.
That's great. I think it's very valuable.
Yep.
Anybody have any questions? I'll start down with Steve.
Well, well, two questions. With this, you know how I've kind of struggled with when we've been doing some of the annexations and doing site plans? Would this be able to help us assist in that, in providing a more realistic look at what?
Absolutely. What you didn't see too is that if we can ask an applicant, like if they have a file of their proposed hotel or apartment, we can plug that in. And then you'll see an actual realistic street view with the grades, and so it'll be a real life. And if the applicant is a smaller mom and pop, if they don't have a visual file for us to put into the system, then we can use figures or find something that we can substitute.
But it's more important for some of the bigger ones,
Yes.
larger ones. Would that also provide then those kinds of site plans would provide the economic data? And
Yeah,
okay.
all that economic data will be generated.
Is this a sole source, or how do you buy
Yeah,
that?
sole source, good question. I meant to bring that up. We're already an ESRI customer.
Oh, okay.
And,
all right.
and I was at a conference, I got a demonstration of it. Tommy Lee just got back from the GIS conference, and she got a presentation of it. So we'd like to stick with the current ESRI platform that we already have. And so we could sole source this and go through that process.
Mr. President?
Go
Todd,
ahead.
could we literally, with this program, could we do a walkthrough on a project so we could get right on the ground?
Like street view, you can see the street
and walk
view.
through it.
You can bring up aerials from the county, and you can have that street view.
Sounds to me like it's going to be a great tool for your department to
Correct.
really show us what we're going to get for a finished project. Correct?
Seeing is believing, right?
And just one other comment, and that is that I'm very excited about this because one of the things Mr. Vandenberg and I talked about is that we often have applicants with varying degrees of sophistication level. So some of them may not have an architect that can provide all of this, the bells and whistles. So if we can just get enough information, one of the challenges we've had is that we look at a development and it's on a very complex topographical condition, like it's at the top of a hill. Well, they show us a drawing or a rendering and it doesn't have any context. And now we can really look at that and look at what it's going to look like as you're driving down the road or standing in front of it. So I think that's going to be very valuable for us for presentation purposes too. Thank you.
All right, so is there action
I would
on
move
this,
to
or-
support
Do we
this,
need any action
the
on
expenditure, yeah.
Well, you said you had it budgeted, right? So
Yeah, we have it budgeted.
Because of the cost, we need council to approve it.
President, I approve that we approve the expenditure of approximately $49,000 for the new GIS software.
Second.
a motion and a second to approve the purchase of the new GIS software. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you very
Todd.
much, and thank you to the ESRI folks online.
All right, so now we're going to go right down the line on 5.1
5.3.
or 5.3. Okay.
Good evening. Tommy Lee Hunt, GIS technician and community planner with the city of Zephyrhills. Tonight we have the MyTech annexation rezoning future land use map amendment. This project is located 2 parcels just south of Tucker Road and east of the Paul Buckman Highway, west of the CSX Railroad. You can see in this red box, those are the 2 parcels that are up for annexation. Here you can get a closer look of said parcels. The total acreage is roughly 10 acres, more or less. The existing land use is vacant and 1 parcel does have a residential structure on it. The existing future land use is county industrial light the applicant's proposing a future land use of industrial. The existing zoning is county AC, which is agricultural, and they're proposing a zoning of light industrial within the city. The projected use for the two parcels for annexation is primarily for utility infrastructure and a secondary emergency exit to MITEC's future manufacturing facility that will be located to the south. And this application does meet the annexation criteria outlined in state statutes chapter 171.043. Notably, criteria number 1 that essentially says the total area to be annexed must be contiguous to the municipality's boundaries and reasonably compact. And criteria 2, which just says that the area to be annexed must be developed for urban purposes. The requested future land use amendment for these two parcels is compatible with the abutting properties. The proposed FLUMA is also consistent with Florida Statutes Chapter 163, Part 2, the City of Zephyrhills Comprehensive Plan, and the city's Land Development Code. It is consistent with the land use and development trends of the area as well as it's located in our industrial corridor. The requested zoning designation as well is consistent with the development patterns of the area and the surrounding properties. The proposed zoning is consistent with the city's comprehensive plan, the land development code, and other city codes and ordinances. The rezoning and future land use map amendment furthers the goals of the comprehensive plan while remaining consistent with adjacent zoning and providing for employment opportunities and increased tax base. As the city grows, the demand for industrially zoned properties continues to grow as well. A public service analysis projected that the impact to police services is already within the city's existing service capabilities. For fire, the anticipated demand as well is within the county's current capabilities. For water, according to the applicant and the utilities department, the anticipated impact is roughly 3 million gallons per year, and the utilities department has deemed that this application is beneficial to the city as well. It is not subject to the current moratorium. The allotted amount within our water use permit does satisfy for this project. Future development of this property as well as the property to the south will be required to utilize the city's sanitation services, and the impact is anticipated to be minimal. At the time of the submittal for this particular application, a formal traffic impact study was not required, though this will be revisited at the time of the site plan application. And industrial impacts on the school system is typically negligible.
May I ask? The impact, are you talking, these impacts would be on the entire property, not this 10 acres, is that right?
For the water, it would be for the entire property. For all of it, it will be for all the properties.
So for this 10 acres, really, you're just adding this 10 acres to 110 acres or so.
Correct.
But these impacts won't be from that 10 acres, it's from the whole property.
Correct.
All right, thank you.
The impact from just the 10 acres is very minimal. And the site plan committee did recommend approval of this annexation, rezoning, and future land use map amendment at its meeting on July 16th. The Planning Commission as well recommended approval at its meeting on August 27th. And tonight, staff is recommending approval for the council's execution.
Okay, thank you, Tommy Lee, for that presentation. Yeah, an industrial, this is as you kind of alluded to, it's a minimal impact on a lot of the areas that we have, maximum impacts for residential, but industrial, and it's a great tax base too. So, anybody have any other questions?
Well, I have one more then. So this 10 acres is shown on the map, it's already owned by the people who are doing MyTech?
Yes, these two parcels are already owned by MyTech.
Okay, so we're looking for approval of the annexation.
Do you need a motion, or do you need?
Is this consensus or a motion?
This is just the planning report, just a consensus.
Okay,
So I'm good with it.
yeah, I think that's,
If we have consensus that
Thank
we're
you.
headed the right way, we'll bring an ordinance back to you.
okay. All right, and then 5.4, just continuation of this, I would assume.
So this presentation is for the conditional use application to exceed the maximum height restrictions within the city, which is 30 feet. The projected use for this application is for the industrial manufacturing facility. This is subject to the two southern parcels just south of the ones for the previous application. This is located east of the Paul Buckman Highway, west of the CSX Railroad, and just north of Chansey Road. Here you can get a closer look of the two parcels. It's roughly 100 acres, more or less. Here you can see the subject site viewed from Paul Buckman Highway looking southeast. And within the light industrial zoning designation, light industry and manufacturing facility is permitted as of right. Therefore, the essential issue for the conditional use is a 46-foot manufacturing building, and that height is just to ensure that their cranes and other equipment are able to fit within the facility. Here we have a concept plan. This is showing the building that is centrally located. It is more towards the north of those two parcels, so the southern half will for now be undeveloped. This application does ensure or require that the future development meet the criteria of the conditional use, which are outlined in the city's LDC, Land Development Code, Part 11.10.00. And it just says that the future development must not adversely affect the neighborhood. It must be consistent with the surrounding area character, have adequate screening and buffering. It must meet the requirements of the light industrial zoning district, and it must provide for adequate parking and satisfy any traffic concerns, as well as provide sufficient draining. Other important considerations: the applicant did provide reports from the FAA that there is no expected concerns with the proposed height within proximity to the Zephyrhills Municipal Airport. As well, the Utilities Department has indicated that there is adequate water supply to service this future development. And again, it's not subject to the current moratorium. The conditional use petition was approved by the Site Plan Review Committee on July 16th. Planning Commission as well recommended approval at its meeting on July 27th. And tonight, staff is looking for direction from council.
Okay, thank you again. And I see that FAA, well, that was going to be my question, so that's already been answered. Does anybody else have any other questions?
She answered all mine, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, and I think, I'm sure we have consensus to move forward with this also.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Tommy Lee. All right, 5.1.
Without a question about that kind of, on that MyTech property on the south west corner, it's part of a PUD. Is that owned by Gain? That goes with Gainey or?
Yeah, I mean, that's part of the Gagney PUD. We bought that back for a PUD modification recently.
Right, but it's not their property. That's a Gainey property.
Correct.
On that.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Okay, one more item to report on, and it's a moratorium update on petitions that council had placed on for petitions received for a couple different items, 3 different items: indoor storage facilities, outdoor storage for RVs, and also laydown areas. So I think what I'd like to do is give you kind of an update on each 3 of those categories. In my agenda memo, you saw kind of an update and some recommended alternatives, so we can talk about those today. You can give me any input that you have or need to think about it, and email me some recommendations y'all have, but we want to begin the discussion, and we'll start with the indoor storage facilities that were under that moratorium. And on my agenda memo, I'll just summarize there the use. That's for your typical mini warehouses and the more recent multi-level indoor storage facilities, and sometimes they also include outdoor storage with those indoor storage facilities as well. I provide a little history identifying multiple areas where we've had the indoor storage facilities. We have that one that's actually on North 301. It's actually in the county on the west side there, north of Cossack Road, kind of near that Phelps area. And we've also had the indoor storage facility that was part of a mixed-use development. That's located at the northwest corner of 301 and Pretty Pond. And then we've also had the one south of Daughtry Road on the west side of Gaul Boulevard. And then we've also had one that we just brought up at the southwest corner of Chansey Road and State Road 39. So those were the projects that we had that were not subject to the moratorium. And so then I bring up some alternatives. One, of course, you could have no change. Another thought that we had is you could change all the uses that come through to be a conditional use under the C2, C3, and LI zoning, or you could take them out of any of those zoning categories. The other option that we were thinking of is that you could no longer allow an indoor storage facility as a separate use on an individual parcel. So that was something that we thought of. If you take them out of the being a separate use and make them required to be a part of a mixed-use project, for example, like the one on Pretty Pond and 301, where it's situated in the back corner but part of the mixed use, wouldn't stand out as much, so that's an option. And I think we have a picture that we can show. Another something that I did a little research and found some examples are, and we got a couple of photos here that show where you could have an actual mixed-use building with retail or office on the bottom floor or 2 floors, and then you could have indoor storage that's located above that. So that's another option. So we kind of came up with a multitude of different options, and then also the consideration, do you want to have like outdoor storage included with an indoor storage facility like this that would be used for RVs, boats, motorhomes. Sometimes you'll see that in the indoor storage facility properties. So yeah, I guess maybe what we can do is just for each of these 3 categories, just open it up for discussion. I'd probably be interested in hearing the comments of, I know we don't have the mayor here today and one of our council members, but if you have any comments after going through this that you'd like to share with staff, we're probably open it up.
Okay, first, where are we in the moratorium itself? Where are we sitting as far as?
We're getting very close to the moratorium
Okay,
date.
and as I recall, a portion of the moratorium was because of the areas where they were going to be. So I think some of those things you brought up are some things that deserve discussion. Do we want to discuss here, or do we want to, you said, mentioned something about maybe meeting individually, or how do you want,
Well,
I mean?
I'm open, if you have some comments.
Yeah,
you
if
wanna
anybody
provide on the
has
record, we
anything
can
right
do
off the
that,
top of
or
their
I can
heads.
meet with you individually, or you can email me comments. I'm kind of open to.
Well, maybe we could throw a few comments tonight, but then still meet with you on, some more specifics. So go ahead.
Yeah, I like your idea of possibly meeting with us individually so that you can go through those 4 options that you gave us.
Okay.
It'll help me make a better decision on which option I feel is best.
Yeah, because he had mentioned conditional use also.
Yeah, there's a lot of options.
So it probably would need more discussion from you on those, where they've been used in the past and other places and things like that. So maybe if we have a couple of direct questions or comments for you tonight. Okay, go ahead.
Actually, so you and I have talked about this a lot. In fact, one of the reasons, I think, one of the impetus for the moratorium ban was, the good thing about these facilities is that they are low impact on our water, it's low impact on our services and traffic generation. But aesthetically, these are soulless buildings that, there's nobody, no one's using them. So, for me, I think I told you that story about I drive into a historic section of Bradenton, and right there, front and center on a major intersection, is this 3-story building, life storage, and it's just, it's not really, ideally, it's not ideal for that use. That they're great as part of a multi-use site, particularly if they're located adjacent to, apartment buildings where people are, living in smaller quarters and need a place to store their things. But I, for one, don't want to stop the construction of them because I think, because for one thing, I'm for, development, smart development, and developing properties for their highest and best use. On the other hand, I think we need to think about what is the experience of pedestrians as they walk down streets and drive down our roadways. That's it for me.
And I totally agree with that. That's why, when you mentioned the multi-use type thing, that kind of stood out to me as one option. But, I mean, maybe we need to look into, obviously, these storage units are going to be needed with the different apartments and townhomes and so forth, but maybe we need to start making them put some storage facilities on their property as we go forward. I mean, they're creating a need. Maybe they, and they can tie it in with something of a multi-use type building.
Yeah, I like.
Just throwing it out there as other things.
Like Councilwoman's idea, probably strategically located them in close proximity to like multifamily projects is, good access to them.
Well, the ones at the Publix, I mean, there is one there in apartments, so that is kind of, that worked out,
Yeah, that one did.
I think I think the last 2 projects you've done, the one particularly on 301 south of Daughtry is a very attractive storage building, I guess.
Good looking, tucked away.
It's tucked away. The front building is brick and glass, and I mean, it has a nice entry. It's the nicest one in that area, actually. And even the one up off Pretty Pond is not bad, considering it's not a typical low sprawl orange door type thing. So, and even something like that one up there,
Mixed use,
it's pretty good. I don't really like the idea of outdoor storage because I don't think we have that much space that would allow for that, unless maybe you're in an industrial park. That would be the only spot. But, as you note, that's a very low tax type
correct.
Generator. But I think the only place I would be for something like that would be on an industrial site that. Otherwise, you know, you don't want something like that on 301 or.
Yeah, we'll jump to that. That's a separate category. We can talk a little bit more about that, but,
No, how far are we into the moratorium? Because we renewed it, right?
yeah, we extended it and we got within the month, we've got a.
Oh, it's up in a month?
Yeah, within this month, we're supposed to have it, so we've identified it at Planning Commission. They didn't have a lot of comments. On the indoor storage, they suggested, you know, let the market dictate it, and I didn't ask them to do the same thing. We had a long comprehensive plan, traffic mobility element discussion before that, so, yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's part of it. I think the market will determine it, but, you know, it depends on what we're doing, what else we're doing in the market that would generate a market as well, if you know what I mean. I mean, if we approve a lot more apartments, then this will probably generate more of a demand.
Dade City, Pasco County, they have regulations where on certain corridors, they don't allow standalones, like in Pasco County, on their major arterials, so they got to be part of a mixed-use development. Dade City also approved a mixed-use component that's very similar to that. So, so we got a lot of options, more so with the indoor storage. Then you'll hear me talk about the other two categories. But if y'all want to think about it, and maybe I'll circle back with you one-on-one and make sure that I understand. And of course, the mayor's not here, Lance isn't here, but
Right.
I can get a consensus.
Okay, well, yeah, and if we were to extend the moratorium and talk about some of those things, we could always stop the moratorium at any time, right? We don't have to, if we extend it for a year, we don't have to do it for a year, and we can rescind it. So, I mean, worst comes to worst, if we have to do that in order to have more discussions to make sure we get it right.
We'll talk about that at
Okay.
the staff level. Make a point of that. Okay. I'll just quickly go through these other two areas. The second category is what we were just talking about. Outdoor storage and laydown areas was included in the moratorium. And this particular use is the storage of any product, materials, equipment, appliances, or personal property of any kind, including material laydown areas and yards. So, you know, the history on this, the concern has been when you have an undeveloped piece of property that's used solely for putting up a fence around the perimeter of and storage of materials, you got no investment of building, you got no jobs that are being created, and sometimes with like a laydown area, whether it's materials, construction materials, it can be kind of unsightly. And you know, a lot of times, typically you'll see this in a light industrially zoned area. You know, is that how we want our light industrial properties developing? Now, if it's, you know, if it's a part of a use and it's an ancillary use for outdoor storage, I think that's something that we're okay with right now.
By lay down, you mean like what's out there already with that one on the corner of
Copeland, Chansey.
Copeland and Chansey
Yeah.
on both sides, laying in the mud, that
Yeah.
kind of a place?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm against that.
Now, again, that is associated with a primary manufacturer, but sometimes you'll have people do that with not even the primary business or manufacturing with the jobs on it. So,
Well, and if they do that, I don't have a problem with it, but that needs to be concealed behind,
Right, we
you
could,
know, a fence.
Yeah, I think we could-
buffering or screening of some sort.
right.
And not in the right of way.
Yeah, because I mean, I think if it's part of the business, I mean, that's, you know, that's, but like you said, screen it somehow or whatever, so it's not,
So as you saw in my memo right now, I think we have that covered where the current code does not allow outdoor storage as a primary use, only as an ancillary use. So we have that pretty much under control. This use may not be a concern unless we wanted to consider thresholds of what percentage of the property ancillary use could be used for that use. We've had one applicant that's proposing, it's a manufacturer, but a very large amount of outdoor storage. So it's something that we're experiencing firsthand right now. So, I mean, is there thresholds that should be looked at where you have it could be a very small building, but acres of outdoor storage. So that was something we were kind of debating, talking about with staff, and should we, because we have a real life example that's very conceptual at this point, but a real life example. And if we go by our current code, it talks about that in the definitions of what percentage can be outdoor storage area. So that's something that we're actively looking at, and that's probably the one. I think we cover the outdoor storage laydown areas okay with the current code and definitions, but again, that real life example of what percentage of the outdoor storage associated with a primary use is open for discussion right now.
Okay, and I think maybe we can cover that in meetings too, so we could see that. Yep. What that looks like.
Yeah, we're happy to do that. And then the last one is just RV storage. That could be RV, boat, motorhome storage, and I think probably y'all recollect some history on that where we've had properties, they put up a fence, they may improve the lot, but we have some past history where that goes through a conditional use, but some recent ones we required them to do some permanent structure enhancements on the property to create at least some ad valorem.
Well, and I think that was a good thing that we did, because it does, like you said, it creates an investment, and at least the ones that we've done in the past, they can be quickly converted to different industrial uses too, as opposed to just putting a fence around a piece of vacant land. And so I think we need to continue with that investment, as we've already had, 2 previous applicants do. That's my opinion anyways.
Right now it's a conditional use. It's not permitted by right. So it's a CU has to go through the process just like we did on my tech. And that's a conditional use in C3 and LI zoning. We really have hardly any C3. So really these outdoor storage areas for that type of use are going to happen in the LI, light industrial zoning. Again, some concerns with that. And I think we could look at, we've talked about the infrastructure improvements made on the property. Do we have a certain percentage? Like I know the 2 that we've done, it's a percentage. Do we want to have a standard threshold of 50% that needs to be like those 2 that have gone through? Or that was probably the one question that staff had was.
Yeah, I think that probably included. I think that maybe the conditional use is the way to go, that you can allow it, but we can really look at it and limit the zoning districts to LI, or
maybe it's just LI and take the C3 out.
Well, there's hardly any C3 here anyway. I mean, there's exactly. 2 pieces and they're built on.
Correct.
So.
Okay. Okay. Any other comments
for tonight? Do you have any other particular questions? I think I would definitely like to get with you on some of those questions too, so I can look at some examples and stuff too, and I'm sure the rest of us would.
Okay, we'll do that.
All right.
All right, thank you very much for your time.
All right, thank you, Todd.
Yep.
Let me hold on. Let's see. All right, city manager report.
The PIO will be given an update on the rebranding.
Good evening, Kevin Weiss, City of Zephyrhills Public Information Officer. I promised the city manager I'd keep this brief, so I'll try to run through everything as quick as possible. So it's been about a year now since we accepted the rebranding for the city of Zephyrhills, almost a year to the date, September of 2023, and just want to reiterate the purpose of the project was threefold: stimulating economic development, defining our place in Pasco County, and professionalization of municipal services. This is our primary logo with the iconic Z at the top. Zephyrhills broken up into two colors. Research showed through our process, our branding process, that a lot of outsiders had difficulty pronouncing the word Zephyrhills. I'll get calls usually a couple times a week from people from Kansas or New York or wherever, and I've heard a lot of different variations of how they pronounce Zephyrhills, so that kind of helps explain it to people a little bit. And then our tagline, "Jump Right In," which has a little bit of an homage to water and skydiving, but also can be adapted for much more than that. These are a couple different variations of our logo. So we have the standalone icon on the left. In the middle is our primary logo and tagline. And then over there on the right is our logo without the tagline. And then this is our department logo family. So if you notice, all of the departments shown here are in the same font and within the color palette that was approved through our rebranding. And then you, of course, have the police patch as well, where the Z is within the patch, and then Chief and the city manager were okay with putting the state of Florida kind of interloped within there as well. As part of our rebranding, the firm that we worked with, North Star Place Branding and Marketing, they provided us with a lot of deliverables, including brand guidelines, how to use the logo, how not to use the logo, what fonts to use, which fonts not to use, so on and so forth. And I just want to run through quickly and show some graphics of what we've done thus far and where we plan to go in the future as well. So here's a look at our website. This is a screen grab from about a month ago. So you can see the logo is prominent, and then our colors and fonts are used throughout as well. Here's a screen grab of our Instagram page, social media templates, fleet vehicles. So on the left is one of the admin vehicles that we had partially wrapped, and then on the right is, my right I should say, is a Zephyrhills Building Department vehicle. Garbage and recycling bins. So going forward, any reorders we have, we will implement this brand plate, heat stamp it onto our garbage and recycling bins, and those will be deployed out in the community. An example of a decal for commercial dumpsters going forward. Flagpole banner, as if you've driven along through Fifth Avenue, you see these colorful banners that are present. These are examples of some letterhead, collateral, stationery, business cards, t-shirt, drawstring banner, envelope, notepad, wristband, lapel pin, as Councilwoman Wilkeson is wearing presently. And this was actually, got to give kudos to the Human Resources Department. Recently, they had done an employee connections, basically bringing in the new employees together, and we were able to give them a few giveaways, kind of welcoming them to the team. And they got a t-shirt, a bag, wristband, and also got to learn about the history of Zephyrhills as well, and had lunch with some of the supervisors. Now, going forward, these are some ideas and possibilities that we could implement in the real life environment. We've done a lot in the digital environment, but now we want to target the real life environment as well. Bricks and sticks, as you might say. Gail, our CRA director, has been working on park signage throughout the city, and I think it was the last CRA meeting that this was presented, where you have a column and our iconic Z will be backlit or pinlit, and then the name of the park is there on the body, Welcome to Hercules Park. And the idea is to standardize these across all of our parks in Zephyrhills. Depending on the size of the park, it might just fit the column. If it's a a large park like Zephyr Park or Cruisin' Park, then you can fit this whole sign. An example of an entryway signage. This was presented by our branding firm, but just gives a little representation of what we'd like to do, of having some entryway gateway signage that basically tells you, hey, you're in Zephyrhills, you've arrived here. And we've kind of piggybacked the idea of, maybe we have every direction of the city from north, east, south, west, maybe off 54, maybe coming in from 301 near Shepherd Park. So that's something that we're hopefully working towards in the future. Our lobby wall right now, if you notice, it's blank, and had some conversations with some people on what we'd like to have there. And here's an example, an idea of having our logo backlit. I don't know if you all have any thoughts or suggestions on going forward with something like this, but just wanted to bring it up.
Big in that.
We could parcel it down.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, we could scale it down.
I think there was another image I saw somewhere that is a little bit
Smaller?
better. Yeah, a little smaller.
And I have a question, may I ask? You have here on your future ideas, branded municipal building monument sign. What is that?
I'll get to that.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So I guess the consensus is making this a little bit smaller.
Well, I don't know, that first picture to show, it almost looked too small. It was
Yeah.
kind of like
Now
all
this is
by
almost
itself.
too big, so maybe kind of somewhere in the
between.
middle.
But I mean, we need to utilize that space, so I
Yeah.
mean, in some manner.
The pictures of council up there.
No.
I mean, historic pictures, you know.
Yeah, we could
something
put
like
them
that,
underneath
right.
or to the side or something
Right.
like that as well, so. All right. Yeah, I think we have pictures of previous council members and current council members as well.
Yeah, we have well, never mind.
Yeah, all right. Moving along. An example of what our water tower could look like in the future, getting that repainted. I recently spoke to John Bostic, Utilities Director, and he said that's probably 4 to 5 years away, but these are a couple renderings provided by our branding firm. I don't know if you all have a preference for one or the other, but this is kind of one of the ideas out there.
Take them 5 years to do that?
I guess based on what he told me is that.
It probably doesn't need to be repainted until 5 years.
Oh, yeah, okay, there we go. So, an example of branded street signs with the standalone identifier Z there. Myself, Public Works Director Shane LeBlanc, and a couple other Public Works representatives, as well as one of our interns visited the city of Lakeland a couple months ago, and I believe Shane's getting a new sign printing technology in the new budget, and we went down to Lakeland or over to Lakeland, and they showed us how they get their icon on all of their street signs, and it's a pretty cool technology. It's really just dragging the logo to where you want it on the street sign and then printing it out in that prismatic. So that was a pretty cool experience. As you can see, they're really known for their swan. That's kind of what they like to highlight. So that's on every single one of their street signs within the city limits. And even going further, they've drummed up wayfinding signage on the left. Like, it's kind of hard to see, but on that computer screen, the gentleman has Publix corporate headquarters on one. Another one shows where the library is and the Museum of Arts is. Street parking, nuisance abatement board signs, so just a couple other examples out there. And that can all be done with that sign printing technology. An example of the column that Gail has been working on, the idea is to put that at the intersection of 301 and 5th Avenue, and that's just a rendering design from our branding firm, and then that's kind of more of a closer look design of what it could be on the right. An example of a mural, the city has been working with Main Street, Antoine, the design committee, on getting a mural similar to this on one of the buildings downtown. Vicki Wiggins with the Chamber of Commerce, the East Pasco Chamber of Commerce, has agreed to have her building painted with a mural that showcases our rebranding. So this is one of those ideas. And I should note the lady or the girl that's in that picture, she's not really there. That's just kind of an example of somebody standing up to that parachute and getting a picture or two or three. And then Steve, getting to your question about municipal building monument signage. So as we are planning to build a new city yard complex, this is just an example of what the city of Johnson City does with one of their buildings. So it would have some sort of ode to our brand, our logo, and it would say, City of Zephyrhills City Complex. So that's just kind of an example of what it could be, kind of designating what the city buildings are. And then here's another example from Sun Prairie, Wisconsin, provided by our branding firm, of what their industrial park, business park looks like. And I know Todd had mentioned having some sort of industrial park gateway signage, and not necessarily looking like this, maybe more so with what we're doing with Hercules Park and the other parks, but incorporating that Z or incorporating our branding in some way, letting people know that, hey, you've entered the City of Zephyrhills Industrial Corridor. And that's it.
All right, thank you, Kevin. I think that looks pretty good. I really like the uniformity of the vehicles in town now. Before, you wouldn't know if it was somebody just had a private business or whatever. So I think that really looks good. And some of the ideas you threw up there look really good too. So
yeah, that goes back to the professionalization of municipal services and standardizing and having cohesion across the board. Because I've had people tell me that they didn't know if it was even a city department previously. So getting everybody under the same brand, I think, is important.
I've had mostly positive responses to what we've done too. I think everybody seems to like it.
Yeah.
Anybody have any questions? Go ahead.
I'll have to admit, when this was first brought before us and Billy and I spoke of it, I wasn't super excited about the rebranding because of the cost. But since we've done it, I really like what we've done. And like Council President Burgess has said, I've gotten a lot of good response from it.
That's great.
I like it. I think that I would just be careful with some of the signs. I mean, the one we just did for Hercules was like $80,000. So I don't think we need to go every,
For city yards.
Yeah, and I think if you're talking about the one for downtown, the median, I kind of like the one that's not pictured, but the one on the right.
Let me see if I might have passed it there. Did I pass it already?
Above the mural.
That one?
Yeah, I like the design there rather than the Z kind of.
Yeah, and I believe Billy can talk to that, but that's the idea, to take that column from Hercules Park and basically implant it right there at 301 Fifth Avenue.
I like that idea better.
So, yeah. All right.
All right, any other comments? All right, thank you, Kevin.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
All right. At this time, we had a resident who missed the citizens' comments and had a couple of questions on some items that we've already covered and voted on. But I'm going to go ahead and give her 3 minutes to ask those questions. And when you're done with those questions, if we can't answer them right then, we can maybe give you an answer, or at least point you in the right direction to get the answer. So you have 3 minutes for your questions, and then also state your name and address for the record, please.
My name is Cindy Dowell, and I live right over by the middle school, 38529 11th.
I'm sorry, I missed your name.
Cindy Dowell, and I live in the historic district portion by the middle school. I have a few questions, but I also wanted to ask, does anyone know how much low income we have in the city? Because we have a lot of minimum wage jobs. Does anyone know? How much low-income housing for the people that work here?
I can't answer that.
That only make $8 an hour.
We have low-income projects, not projects, but developments.
Okay.
A couple of them are on 20th Street and North Avenue in there, but low-income in particular, not much.
Okay, oh, down there at 20th Avenue, almost all of that is sex offenders. So if you're talking about a woman, a lot of sex offenders down at that end where you were talking about for the low income. Where I lived in Michigan in a low income apartment, it was a beautiful apartment. I thank God I had that. I went through a divorce, I had 3 little kids, I was trying to go to school and work full time, and that saved me. I have a daughter that's going to be a doctor. I have another one that is a general manager, and I have a son that is raising his little child, working full time. They're the hardest working kids you'd ever want. I'm very proud of my children, but they wouldn't have turned out like that had I not had low income, had I not been able to put a roof over their head, had I not had the chance to take care of them. So when we have all of these people with so little income and no decent place to raise their children, we're going to reap what we sow. And if we want what you guys are after, which you're doing a beautiful job on the city, it looks nice, I love it. You know, I mean, my house value has gone up $100,000 in just 6 years. So I can't complain about what you guys are doing to improve the city. But what I can tell you is that there are a lot of hardworking, I mean, like women working at Winn-Dixie. I mean, the ones that are taking care of us. They're doing service jobs, but they're not making enough money to pay any of these rents. $1,800 is so out of reach. You have to cram 10 people in there. And so we're making our homeless problem worse. And 3 weeks before the governor's law goes into effect. So my questions are, what are we going to do about that? And I understand the problem with drugs. I understand that we need rehab for people. But I have talked to people out there that are disabled. I have talked to people out there that aren't on any drugs, and they just simply can't pay rent. So the apartment that I lived in was better than most of these full-rate apartments. It was beautiful, 3-bedroom, no problem. There's no reason, even with the tiny houses, to house some of the single people, there's no reason we can't make them nice, make them affordable.
Okay, ma'am, do you have questions? Because you have 3 minutes and...
Yeah, it's almost, okay, so what are we doing with that rate that you're raising on my water bill? How much of that you're raising on all of us is gonna go towards fixing the problem of not being able to do any land development, other than industrial?
Rates on the water?
Yeah, you're raising 3%. And then 3%
right.
on the
and
rate
that was,
and 3% on the other?
Yeah, and that was the one thing that you had missed.
I'm just wondering if they're going to fix the problem, because you guys put a moratorium in, that there's no more construction.
Right. Well, fix the problem as to the water issue. Raising the rates won't do anything to the water consumption.
So they're not going to be able to do anything?
That would raise, the rate increase hasn't been increased in, 3 years, and that has nothing to do with the Swift Mud permit that we're looking at for the moratorium.
Okay, so we're still in trouble for the consumption?
Well, we're still waiting, we're still in the process of it, but I would ask you if you could probably come into City Hall and get better answers on that.
The utility rate increase only goes right back into the utility
Right, it's all for all operations of the utility.
It goes for the operations and it goes for equipment. So that goes right back into the utility department to maintain it and put in pipes and do what they do.
Okay. I do AutoCAD design review, doing estimating. So I've offered to help some of the homeless try to develop a place, but then I find out that we can't do it. And so my question is, if we do, I mean, are you guys going to be able to maybe consider letting us build some low income if we're willing to use the better toilets, all of the water consumption?
Well, all of those things we do right now with, we have initiatives for that. Water Smart, I believe it's called,
Our
Water Star.
Florida Water Star ordinance that council passed
we already
requires
have those things in place. And as far as the low-income housing, I mean, that's, you know, as we look at developments, that's one of the questions you always have. What is some of what is that going to target on that? So, I mean, that just comes with the developments as they come in.
If I may ask a question.
Go ahead.
You had mentioned about building houses. Are you looking at building subdivisions, or are you looking at infill individual lots?
Looking at some of the larger lots, we were hoping to build quite a few.
So
Small individual, and then build a clubhouse that would actually provide for more of what they need, just tiny houses. We were looking at that. We could also build some duplexes. I'm wondering what you guys would allow, is basically what I want to know.
So our moratorium is anything over 1 acre. So if you have anything under an acre that you would like to develop, would be considered infill, and our moratorium does not address that or does not impact the infill development on lots less than 1 acre.
Okay, would you allow mini houses so that you could maybe do like, if they were made out of block, if they looked nice, if, you know?
Those
I mean,
are
would that
all
be
conversations that we have to have, yes. So we have to look at it, you have to look at the density on the properties, what the zoning is, what density is allowed on those properties. And that's a conversation I think we'd have to have with council, because we looked at reducing the densities from 20 down back to 14. And so based on this, to do tiny homes, we've had some requests on a lot very near First Baptist Church. But the issue is density and being able to take a 1/4 acre lot, and when you do the math, it comes, to put 2 units on there, 3 units, whatever, it comes out to more than 14 units an acre.
We have 3 tiny homes already over there,
Right.
don't we?
We do.
Yeah.
I just wanted to share, to answer the lady's question, and I'd be happy to meet with you, and I can share from a planning department's perspective what we're doing to try to address affordability in housing. We have about 750 manufacturing jobs. They'll be making about $20 an hour, some of them higher, but we have an example of some container homes that a bunch of us are going to go look at as just one option. Park models, we got some examples, much smaller, 600 square foot living units that are be much more affordable than anything that's out there right now. So be happy to meet with you and discuss further with you and some of the ideas that we're investigating to address affordable housing in Zephyrhills.
Well, I was interested in trying to start a 501c3 for low-income housing and just do a nonprofit, because all of the corporations that come across my desk are all for-profit, and I don't think we're going to get there.
Well, I think your first step on that probably would be meet with Todd and go and look at what we, what's allowed, first of all, and then what things we can do, and you can kind of move forward from there.
Okay. Do you know what exactly your plans are for low income for the next, what your plans are for the homeless? Do you guys got something in?
Well, on the homeless, we have an initiative that I think if you come up here, and the city manager can probably direct you into what we're doing with that initiative, the homeless initiative that we have.
Okay.
Something for a different discussion that you can just find out what we have in place right now.
Okay, and then let me see. How far do they have to be from the school for a homeless shelter?
Again, those are things that you probably should come up and get with the planning department and find out what everything is allowed, where it's allowed at.
Okay. Because the only thing I knew was that if sex offenders aren't supposed to be within a certain distance in drugs, and there's a few things like that I know have got to be far enough away.
Well, again, that initiative that we have, and we kind of, I don't know all the details of it myself.
There's a nonprofit in town called CHIPS. And it's in coordination with, it's a nonprofit that works with other agencies in our police department.
Yeah.
And they work on homeless initiatives. We have one police officer who is a homeless liaison officer that works with the homeless. And then they use referrals and work with mental health agencies and other agencies. So CHIPS is a volunteer organization. They work out of their house at the Genesis Center on 7th Street and 15th Avenue, I think.
Well, I do bids
out of the police department and with the police chief. So.
Right. I do bids for like D.R. Horton, Taylor Morrison, all of the big builders. And I'm just wondering if is that something that you guys would need involved in order to get something developed for them? I can see if some of these builders will offer help and assistance.
Yeah,
if you have land.
Yeah, I think that if you got with the CHIPS organization, they could tell you what they're doing. We help fund that and work with the police department
Right, but
on
that's
that.
just money.
I think as far as
We
the
didn't have
shelter goes,
anything.
that's a Pasco County issue. It's a much bigger than Zephyrhills issue.
Right.
So to
But
build a
doesn't
shelter,
Zephyrhills have land available?
it's a conversation that we need to have with Pasco County.
So they're not.
I can't tell you that there's land available or not without going and looking.
Okay.
So it's a shelter issue is much bigger than City of Zephyrhills.
Right,
So we need to schedule a meeting that we can get Pasco County at.
okay. Most of those people don't have cars. They need to
I
be
don't think
close
we need
enough-
to have the individuals to have the meeting with Pasco County.
No, but
It's-
I'm talking about the people that we be servicing. They need to be somewhere close enough to town to meet
So I-
their needs.
So
I would
let me be
think.
clear what I said. I didn't say that it's not in Zephyrhills. What I said is
Okay.
we need to have the conversation with Pasco County to look at
Okay.
the
Who would I
situation.
Ask in Pasco, thank you.
All right. My understanding is we've already begun conversations with Pasco. I can get your information and get you in contact with the right individual.
I mean,
If
the
you can give it
Pasco
to the
County has
clerk.
a homeless coalition that they operate, and they get federal and state funding. They work with the Board of County Commissioners. The county is purchasing land in West Pasco right now for homeless shelter for homeless people. The CHIPS organization works with homeless and helps try for referral and assistance. So we work in conjunction with the county, but the county's a lead agency countywide. They would have to provide shelter and things like, we're not big enough to do that.
Right.
We work, as I told you, we have a police liaison officer, and the police department operates the CHIPS organization and has a social worker there that helps work with individuals in the town.
Right.
We aren't kind of in the business to build housing in terms of that. We would work with developers or other people.
Federal government.
Okay, but for low income, like HUD housing? Is that something that's a
That's,
possibility?
well, that would be Pasco County as well. The county has a community development division, and they do housing and community development block grants and all those things for those situations. And the idea is that you're not duplicating what everyone else is doing. Everybody that wants to set up a 501c3 competes actually with other people that are trying to do the same thing unless they have actually a plan established to work out how they're going to operate it and fund it. Because the funding's the main problem.
And I would recommend getting with the county and you know, maybe making them aware of some of your ideas and concerns. I think that would be a good approach for you with some of the ideas you might have, so.
I just know that if they're sleeping in their car,
Yeah, that's a.
you know, and instead of a low-income housing where they can
Yeah, well,
actually take care of their kids and
as
bathe them.
Councilman Spina said, that's kind of where we have to attack that problem from, is at that level, so.
Right.
Did
But
you
now
have?
that I make a good income,
Did
I
you-
make
did
a
you-
good income because I got to go to school and I
Right.
got to take care of my kids. And
Right,
I had,
did we answer, what, you had questions on the water rates? I will tell you on the water rates,
The water,
we will address that again on the September 23rd meeting, and the meeting, they always start at 6 o'clock, so I don't know where it'll be on the agenda, but you can hear a little bit more of analysis on that.
and the next time, the next meeting?
September 23rd?
Okay.
They're or the second and fourth Mondays of the month at 6 o'clock.
So much for your time. Who can I talk to about this though? I mean, you were gonna give me.
Sorry, if you give your information to the clerk, then we can get you in contact with the correct person.
And I thank you, Ms. Dahl, if I pronounced that right, correctly. Okay, mayor is not here, so we have no mayor announcements. We'll go to the city manager announcements.
Just a reminder, the joint meeting with Pasco County and the other east side cities is tomorrow morning at 9:30 at the fairgrounds. So if your council's riding with us, we're leaving at 9 o'clock. Thank you to the Pasco County Emergency Management with their help at Silver Oaks and the pumping there. And then also, I know the Public Works Director reached out to Pasco EM today about 9th Avenue. That's the lone road that we have flooded currently, so reached out to them, see if we can get some assistance there. And then if you saw the Instagram post that I sent to you yesterday, Patrick Mortoglu, posted that he's opening an academy in Zephyrhills. So the tennis world quickly started Googling where Zephyrhills was. So the message is out there now. So we're on the map with Dubai and China and France and places like that. So that's all I have for this evening. Yeah.
Goodbye.
City attorney.
Nothing for me, thank you.
All right. City council, I'll start with Councilman
I
Speed.
just have, I stood in for the mayor Saturday at the Museum of Military History. They held a 9/11 ceremony. It was a really nice ceremony. They had a firefighter there speaking who had been on the scene in Manhattan during at Ground Zero. They had a Gold Star mother there whose son was killed in Afghanistan in the aftermath of 9/11. A couple other military veterans. And it was a very nice reflection on the day and what had occurred. They had skydivers came in with a flag. So it was a nice ceremony. Hot.
Sure it was.
Very hot. But
I have two things. I'm grateful that we've sworn in 4 new officers. That's always exciting. And I appreciate I appreciate Todd and his team. Tommy Lee, you gave a great presentation. You always do. And I'm glad to know that when Todd retires, we'll be in good hands with planners. Not rushing you, Todd. And that's all I have.
Okay.
Thank you. So first of all, I just want to say that I've had an inordinate amount of complaints about flooding in the older section of town, more than I've ever had in my entire service to the city council. You know, I know that we have over time tried to resolve some of the issues. For example, one good example is 20th Street, where they created a swale, they created culverts, and they purchased a house, they tore the house down, they created a retention pond. But, we have to continue to invest in the older part of downtown. We get these impact fees and we have all this activity in these newer properties. But the reality is that we still have an obligation to our existing residents to continue to improve infrastructure in the older part of downtown. A lot of the challenge I try to explain to people, we don't have right-of-way. We don't have the space to make some of these major improvements that, that are required to move water from point A to point B. And, there's been some complaints or some misunderstandings that the creation of the sidewalks has exacerbated the problem. All that does is retain the water on the site. There's still the issue of getting rid of the water. A lot of times these are just older properties, and over time the roads, have the elevation of the roads have changed some, but it isn't the amount of water in theory sheeting off of the roads isn't increased. So that was one of the things is that, and I also wanted to thank our staff. I think that our city manager, several of our local representatives, and our staff, Shane and his team, worked nonstop. I saw posts on the internet. I saw emails back and forth. I saw even, some coverage in the press. So thanks again for all your hard work on this. And that's it for me. Thank you.
Okay, yeah, and just to follow up on that, and, of course, the one gentleman that came, and he talked about the road being built up, and through time, as you repave, well, yes, naturally, it's going to be a little bit higher. So, and I'm hoping that just finding that one culvert that was blocked up, that will resolve his particular issue. And it might be a lot of that in other areas, too, where it's just a matter of getting some things unblocked or even cleaned out. I mean, when you're not flooding, you don't think about it until it actually happens. So probably something we need to kind of, as you were saying, as we move forward, look in those older districts and areas and see what we can do to try to mitigate. But I will say I appreciate the Public Works Department because they've been through a lot here in the last couple of weeks. You guys and the city and the county and the state and some, like I said, our representatives have all come together to try and alleviate as much as we can, not only the city residents, but the county residents too, which is all part of it, because, you know, water is going to go where it's historically gone. So, and I think that everybody's been working in good partnership with all the entities involved. And once, you know, we'll just hope it doesn't rain as much as it. I think we kind of dodged it tonight, it sounds like so. But go ahead, you had a.
So just two things. The first one on water, if the flooding downtown, and I know there's spots that seems like it doesn't matter what amount of rain we get, there's standing water. But the event and the flooding that we experienced on September 3rd, that was 4.5 inches in an hour and a half. There's not a system that can handle that. And so that's the message we're trying. Of course, that doesn't make the resident get the warm and fuzzy or, you know, feel good when they have water standing in their yard that's, you know,
right.
X number of inches or feet deep. But that event exceeded the, you know, it's a 100-year storm event, which means it's a 1% chance of it happening within a year. So that was, I think, the issue in the downtown. And again, we've heard the same complaints of staff. Sidewalks caused the problem, the road, you know, being raised, all those sorts of things. But 4.5 inches in an hour and a half's time.
When the water table's already saturated.
Exactly. All bets are off at that time, and we just pray that it doesn't get, you know, doesn't flood anybody. So we're addressing the issues that we can. 4.5 inches an hour, I don't think we'll ever be able to handle that. You know, the low areas will still get wet and stage up. I will say, by the morning time, most of those locations had dried up. The areas that historically hold water, held water. Henry Drive, which is now dry, as long as it doesn't rain, again, like it did tonight. Terradale, the 9th Avenue there, has gone back down. The standing area that we have is 9th Avenue between Beach and Cypress. That pond area, again, historically has held water. So we're working, Shane has reached out to Pasco EM and to see if we can't get that pump down to a level that at least individuals can get in and out of their driveways. The road may not be passable, but at least they can get in and out of their driveways. And then just a reminder, I forgot to mention, on Wednesday, there's an event at the Veterans Memorial at Zephyr Park. 10 o'clock? 11 o'clock? I think an invitation's been sent to you, but then also there's Pasco County is dedicating their fallen officer memorial there at the courthouse, either at 10 or 11. So we can get, I think those invitations have been sent out to each of you if you're interested in those. That's all I have.
Okay. Yeah, and then Wednesday morning after we left out, or Tuesday, of course, the water was over ankle deep in the parking lot, and I drove around Wednesday to some of the same spots, 7th Street, and the water had gone down. 5th Avenue was clear, 7th Street was clear, so it was, most of the places had gone back down except for those couple of really bad areas. But then again, I appreciate Public Works and all that they've done leading up to this, and hopefully we won't have any more rains like that for a while. All right, if there's nothing further, I'm going to go ahead and adjourn the meeting.
So what I will say is,
That long in these lock up.